Hi, everyone. I can see you all trickling in. We're going to wait a couple minutes while people get connected, and we'll get started here shortly. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, the Stellar Development Foundation's Q3 2023 quarter in review. I'm Lauren Thorbjornsen. I am the Vice President of Communications and the Chief of Staff at SDF. And as usual, we've got a lot to cover, but maybe especially because we had a very, very busy Q3, and we have a great group of SDF leaders to take us through all of those accomplishments. First, we're going to kick off shortly here in just a couple of minutes with our CEO and Executive Director, Denelle Dixon. She's going to recap some of the more noteworthy highlights from this kind of epic Q3 we've just had, and then also sort of root us and remind us of our 2023 roadmap and how all of that ladders up to what we're trying to accomplish this year as a whole. Then Jason Chlipala, who's our COO, will go over network stats for the quarter and touch on what we're doing to make innovation easy and scalable. We'll get back to Denelle, who's going to review what we did to win over builders, and Candace Kelly, who's our Chief Legal Officer, will highlight what we've done this quarter to build trust through utility. And of course, we're going to leave time at the end for your questions, so you can submit them throughout the call. I'll be tracking and keeping a list so we can come back to them at the end through the Q&A menu option in the Zoom. And thanks again, everyone, for being here on this beautiful autumn day, at least here in Chicago. I hope you're all safe and healthy wherever you are. So let me hand it over to Denelle to get us started on the agenda.
Thank you, Lauren. Hello, everyone. It's hard to believe that we're almost at the end of the year. 2023 has flown by. So much has been done, and yet, honestly, as always, there's so much left to do. Time's moved really quickly, and as we continue to make as much progress as we can to support the growth and development of the Stellar Network, it's really nice to be able to take this opportunity to sort of recap with our recent wins. To set the scene, let's remind ourselves of our 2023 roadmap, where utility is and has been our core focus. That these are 3 building blocks that will help us take Stellar's utility to the next level. At least that's what we're hoping. First, we're making innovation easy and scalable on the network. And one way we're doing this right now is by helping to set a new smart contract standard on DeFi. That's Soroban. Second, we are more focused than ever on winning over builders, and we need to continue to solve problems for them and, frankly, with them, and show them how they can leverage Stellar in their work. Finally, we're focusing on utility to build trust. This requires proactive engagement with policymakers and influencers to make sure SDF and Stellar are seen as credible and reliable. So let's look at some of the highlights from the quarter. So Q3 kept us all busy, but the hard work we put in will lay the foundation for the success of the Stellar Network and ecosystem for 2024. If you've been to our past quarterly calls, you might notice that today things look very different. We successfully rolled out a brand refresh with updated visuals and messaging that better reflect that the Stellar network and the ecosystem are all about. Real world utility and solving real world problems. So this new brand better reflects who we are and what we're trying to accomplish. It was a huge achievement to bring it to the world in Q3, and we're so excited for the story it's going to help us to tell going forward. The Stellar network upgraded to Protocol 20, which means that Soroban has officially landed on testnet. Now that Soroban is feature complete, SDF and the Soroban ecosystem are working really hard to polish a smart contract platform that will truly redefine DeFi. So for the rest of the year, we're heads down on bringing Soroban to mainnet launch. We also held Meridian 2023 in Madrid, Spain in September. It was our biggest and honestly our most magical Meridian yet. It was amazing to get to see everyone gather under one roof to talk about all the problems that they're solving, exchanging ideas and insights and inspiration. And it was so awesome because we had a remarkable number of new faces at Meridian this year. So it was really amazing to see the ecosystem grow right before our eyes. At Meridian, we also got to make a number of announcements, including Circle's Eurocoin, which is now on the Stellar network. Having a digital representation of the euro on the Stellar network is a huge boon for developers and entrepreneurs who are hoping to leverage the world's second most used currency for their products and services. MoneyGram International also announced their intention to build a non-custodial digital wallet on the Stellar network. In fact, at Meridian, they allowed the beta launch to be used by everyone that was there. MoneyGram is also already seeing really positive growth with MoneyGram Access. And by building their offering, this offering on their own into their wallet for their own consumers, their customers can now seamlessly move between fiat and crypto via their extensive on and off ramp network. And SDF engaged with PwC US on research, this time measuring the impact of financial services on creating financial access and inclusion. With research like this, people can help better understand how blockchain can be a solution that helps to unlock that first step to access and then hopefully to inclusion. The white paper and framework that PwC US created is now available to download, so start digging in on it. I'm going to hand it over to Jason now to walk us through the network stats and building block number 1.
Thanks, Denelle. Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Chlipala, the COO here at SDF, and I'm going to be reporting on some key network stats and also to give an update on what we've done this quarter to make innovation easy and scalable. We'll start with a look at the numbers. First, let's check in on network activity and growth. The first metric is total accounts. In Q3, total accounts surpassed 7.6 million, up by 12% year over year. The second metric we look at is total number of payments. There were 76 million payments compared to 64 million in the same quarter last year. The average daily DEX volume this quarter was above 12 million lumens worth per day. That is a decrease from Q3 last year, when the average daily DEX volume was about 24 million lumens worth per day. Although this decrease tracks with the broader market downturn, the increasing number of payments does indicate higher use of the network overall. Next, we have raw network activity, which we can look at total operations processed to get a sense of. Operations on Stellar are any functions that change the ledger state, including payments, but also things like buy and sell orders. In Q3, we saw a 26% year-over-year decrease with the network processing over 700 million operations. But to put that into perspective, the total number of operations processed on the network is now over 13.4 billion with a B. Next, let's look at the metrics for our relevant assets. We define relevant assets as assets tethered to real financial instruments. Think fiat currencies like the yen or euro. Tracking these assets gives us a good indication of how well Stellar is doing at actually connecting global financial systems. In Q3, the total number of relevant assets that we track is 79, which stayed consistent year over year. The on-network transaction volume of those relevant assets grew by an impressive 233% year over year. That's a lot. This is clearly a positive trend overall and shows that the network increasingly connects people to the global financial system. The last set of metrics that we'll look at measure the decentralization of the network. Decentralization plays a critical role in the health and success of the network. We continue to monitor the number of nodes and average ledger close times to see how the network is holding up. First, let's look at the number of Tier 1 validator nodes. These are the nodes that are run by organizations that have gained a high level of network trust and that are essential to network health and resilience. Currently, the network has 23 Tier 1 validator nodes, and then outside of Tier 1, total network nodes are at 107. Reliably and as expected, ledgers continue to close in a little over 5 seconds. I always feel good saying that because that means the network can handle a ton of transaction volume, payments, and operations, no problem. I'll turn now to building block 1, which is focused on making innovation easy and scalable. And as many of you can probably guess, lots happened with Soroban this quarter. Soroban launching on mainnet inches closer than ever. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. As of this quarter, Soroban is officially on testnet, Protocol 20, by far the biggest and most complex protocol upgrade to date. Soroban is also feature complete with 10 preview releases built out in the open in total. Preview Release 1 introduced Soroban to the world about a year ago, and now Preview Release 10 recently concluded by introducing a novel approach to data storage that solves for unbounded state growth. Soroban now has all of its core functionality in place. There have been so many ideas, so many contributions, and so much feedback. While chaotic at times, this end result is much better and came way faster than if a single group of engineers tried to build something like this in a silo. In addition, because Soroban has been built in the open with ecosystem devs hacking away all year, something else remarkable has happened. A viable ecosystem of smart contract projects has come together alongside the platform itself. Not to say that things always went smoothly, there were some breaking changes, but that's what we wanted devs to do. Get elbows deep into the code, tinker, mess around, break the code, rewrite, and persevere until we got the Soroban we wanted. There's still work to be done auditing and hardening and tooling to be built. But if you've been building since FutureNet, you've been building on Soroban V1. It's so cool to see how far we've come. And also, we've partnered with industry-leading security firm Certora to provide security support for Soroban. Smart contracts are sensitive. They handle a lot and are entirely transparent, so anyone can see code and bugs, and are immutable, which means that bug mitigation requires lengthy governance processes. This environment makes security non-negotiable and the correctness of code crucial to preventing vulnerabilities in order to help safeguard user assets. Certora's pioneering formal verification tools go beyond traditional testing methods. The mathematical process rigorously checks code against its intended specification, kind of like checking a building against its blueprint, and helps identify and eliminate potential issues. This approach provides a higher level of confidence in the correctness and security of smart contracts. Soroban is the first WASM-powered platform to be supported by Certora, and developers will now be able to use Certora's software to ensure the reliability and security of their smart contracts. Now, let's look at what we achieved in the product category. This is everything we do to ensure the quality of stellar flagship products. To start, SDF is committed to transparency and openness and open sourced the Stellar Disbursement Platform, which we call SDP, so that anyone in the world can benefit from this technology. SDP continues to benefit people in need around the world. New organizations sent payments through SDP this quarter, including to marginalized populations that depend on the discretion of receiving funds in a digital wallet. Early adopters have started to scale their use of SDP because of their high confidence in the tool as part of their standard operations. Initial conversations have begun on non-aid use cases as well, such as marketplaces, creator payouts, things like that. Now on to Vibrant. By employing grassroots marketing strategies to further educate users about blockchain and its real-world applications, the Vibrant team was able to far exceed the targets they established. Their focus on providing top-tier customer support and building user trust and loyalty is paying off, and I'm really looking forward to what they've got planned next. And finally, builders, your toolkit got bigger. The Anchor platform will soon, if not already, add support for the Stellar ecosystem protocols through a second standard that allows anchors and wallets to interact on behalf of users. This improves user experience by allowing wallets and other clients to interact with anchors directly without the user needing to leave the wallet to go to the anchor site. Wallets are also now easier to build on the Stellar network than ever. Fintech companies can integrate the wallet SDK to build network-enabled wallets without requiring in-depth blockchain expertise. The Stellar Asset Sandbox, a testing ground for exploring asset tokenization on the Stellar network, also received new features to provide even finer control of the environment, courtesy of Cheesecake Labs. It will also support Soroban, enabling users to test DeFi applications powered by smart contracts on the Soroban testnet. I'll now pass it back over to Denelle to keep things going.
Oops, I was so busy listening, I forgot to turn my camera on. Thanks, Jason. I love what we're doing and all the developers that are really engaged on Soroban. It has been so remarkable to see the excitement around it. So it's so great to see where we are with respect to that. So thanks for those highlights. Moving along to building block 2, let's go over what we're doing to win over the builders. So the strategic initiatives we're prioritizing here include real world assets, access, and of course, Soroban adoption. The Soroban Adoption Initiative is all about contributing to a thriving DeFi ecosystem with real sustainable use cases leveraging smart contracts. So with that goal in mind, we continue to push out content and resources to attract developers and support them as they explore and experiment. And we're proud to announce that there are over 100 projects in the public directory right now, and more getting added every single day. We even got to see some of them demo at Meridian, exploring some of the really fascinating use cases. So through the Soroban Adoption Fund, a dedicated $100 million envelope within our mandate, we're carving a path for developers to learn, to tinker, and potentially receive awards by participating. The end goal of launching and scaling useful, usable, fun products and services on Soroban. There have been fun ways for builders to get engaged since last quarter. For developers interested in learning, competing, and showing off their chops, Soroban Quest is an interactive starting point for a newcomer's journey. Last quarter, Quest launched RP Siege, a Soroban-focused developer experience geared to stress test the network in preparation for mainnet launch. Now, RP Siege 4 has launched with 3 more skirmishes. Over 1,500 NFT badges were issued across 165 unique accounts. And the new fast, cheap, and out of control site is live, and more Rust and Soroban-oriented resources than ever can be found there. Scrolling through it, it looks pretty darn sleek. So continuing on to our additional adoption fund programs, in Q3, the Stellar Community Fund received more than 160 project submissions across 3 rounds and awarded more than $4 million worth of lumens to almost 60 projects. This is a powerful reminder that the Stellar Community Fund continues to demonstrate the power of open source, that anyone can bring their idea to life on the Stellar network and on Soroban. As a reminder, we've supersized SCF to distribute more awards in support of Soroban, and we do it much more frequently than before. The team has been super busy there. Awards now range from $10,000 to $150,000, depending on the size and scope of the project. Cycles run every 4 weeks. Kind of crazy. So there's a lot, there are consistent and ongoing opportunities to participate. If you don't have a project idea fleshed out enough to participate in the Stellar Community Fund, but you've already blazed through Soroban Quest and are kind of itching for more, check out Sorobanathon. We launched Sora Bounty Spectacular, a DApp content bounty providing a structure for developers to build dApps and create published written and video tutorials. We also hosted a virtual hackathon called Sorobanathon, Road to Mainnet. And there are additional learning materials to get you more immersed in Soroban. Soroban modules have been incorporated on educational platforms like EasyA. This alliance aims to usher in early stage thinkers and integrate them into Soroban ecosystem. A total of 4,265 developers successfully completed at least one Soroban module via EasyA. 3,604 developers completed all 6 modules. SDF also partnered with organizations like Major League Hacking to introduce Soroban to developers at 50 different collegiate hackathons. So stay up to date when new cycles launch on soroban.stellar.org. Join the Discord and get involved if you have any ideas. We love your involvement to bootstrap the ecosystem of tools and protocols, dApps, and resources necessary for Soroban to thrive. So as I mentioned, Circle's Eurocoin, Eurocoin is now live on the Stellar network. Businesses and developers can now leverage a global euro digital currency that comes with the speed, affordability, and reliability of the Stellar network. I, for one, love that Eurocoin is on the Stellar network because it has the potential to expand the utility and scope to so many existing projects and services today by connecting them to Euro-based customers, communities, and Euro users. It's also just really great to have another very, very strong, stable asset that is focused on the Euro on the network. And companies in the Stellar ecosystem are already implementing Eurocoin. Ripio, a leading crypto company in Latin America that is now expanding to Spain, is the first to add it on Stellar to their wallet app, enabling euros deposits and withdrawals for their users. So next, let's touch on access, which is where we foster development for easy to use, accessible, and cost-competitive on and off ramps globally. On top of seeing 20% quarter-on-quarter growth in transaction volume through MoneyGram Access, MoneyGram International announced plans to launch their very own non-custodial digital wallet on the Stellar network. Once launched, wallet users will be able to visit any participating MoneyGram location to cash out their digital assets to increase the utility of their holdings. Users will also be able to seamlessly send digital assets to other users in the wallet. This is what we mean by making access actually accessible. New wallets and on and off ramps continue to go live through the Stellar ecosystem. So we congratulate Ihara, Bitmama, Whitebit, Yellow Card, Lemon Cash, Banksa, Kato, AAA, and Alfred Pay on all of their hard work. So next, let's move to the Enterprise Fund. The Enterprise Fund paid out the rest of a $3 million investment to longtime ecosystem member Latimex, which continues to deliver its promise on providing fiat to crypto on and off ramps and tools to a variety of audiences. The matching fund made an additional investment of $500,000 in Credora, a startup building lending infrastructure and systematic credit ratings for private credit markets. This investment serves a double bottom line. First, it drives transaction and settlement volumes on Stellar payment rails through its credit marketplace. And second, it allows developers to develop their Soroban native dApps using Credora's on-chain dynamic credit scoring and risk monitoring solution. It's pretty cool. We're pleased to continue to support their mission of helping consumers and businesses access money when they want, wherever they want, while growing the reach of the Stellar ecosystem. So that's it on this building block. I'm going to hand it over to Candace for the next one. Drop any questions in the Q&A in the meantime.
Sorry, my video is being stubborn.
It's okay. We can hear you. So you can just talk.
It's just, okay. Give me one more second. Apologies. It's not working. Okay, thanks, Denelle. Hi, everyone. There it is. I'm here. I'm going to walk through the updates on building block 3, where we focus on utility to build trust. Our strategic initiatives here include public profile and public policy. Like Denelle said, things look different. The SDF marketing and communications team unveiled a whole new look and feel for the Stellar brand, bringing to the forefront the real-world utility of the network and vibrancy of the ecosystem. The new brand underscores what the Stellar network and ecosystem are all about: solving real-world problems that real people face daily. To shine the light on the change makers pushing the envelope, building solutions to improve people's lives, and doing the empowering work to create change, the brand focuses on helpful design. Humble, but not invisible, everything SDF designs, writes, and creates should reflect that helpfulness too. This includes the illustration style, color palette, and even navigating the new website. You might have seen a familiar face across SDF's recent marketing efforts. Why did SDF decide to partner with Idris Elba? His personal story and ethos align perfectly with SDF's mission, creating equitable access to the world's financial system. And throughout his appearance and fireside chat at Meridian, I believe the attendees resonated with the perspective he brought regarding what it means to unlock human potential and create greater access to financial services through technology. Through Idris's work as a UN Goodwill Ambassador, his advocacy for the Ghanaian film industry, and numerous other endeavors focused on creating systems that allow people to succeed and thrive, SDF is excited to see where this partnership will lead. And if you've been following us on social, then you know Meridian 2023 was a resounding success. At the end of the quarter, the Stellar Development Foundation and the Stellar Ecosystem gathered in Spain for the annual Stellar Conference. The theme of the event, Unlocking Human Potential, set the stage for a series of electrifying talks and exchange of ideas. Attendees from over 50 countries arrived to hear more than 140 speakers explore all sorts of topics: DeFi, payments, smart contracts, interoperability, policy. We had a graffiti artist outside creating artwork that we then auctioned off. Incredible performances, and the conversations flowed beautifully as usual. Developers, founders, entrepreneurs, policymakers, and other leaders from decentralized and traditional finance all convened to discuss unlocking access in innovative ways through blockchain technology. Attendees left the conference eager to empower people to meet their potential in real, tangible ways. But that's not all. It was an incredibly busy quarter of participating in other industry events as well. We made our way to Asia to attend WebEx and Token 2049, and spoke at the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia FinTech Conference on cross-border payments, digital cash, and CBDCs. We had also begun to roll out the new branding, which was really well received. And right before Meridian, Denelle took the stage at MainNet. Alongside Masari CEO Ryan Selkis, she spoke to the progress SDF and the Stellar Network have made in delivering real-world utility across a number of use cases. Denelle also participated in NASDAQ's trade talks to discuss the need for stablecoin regulatory guidelines and blockchain's transformational ability to reshape global payments and remittances. With all this talk about regulation, you can guess that our policy team has been pretty busy. They've been contributing to research, which brings us to the next slide. Financial inclusion is core to our mission, and it's a journey that starts with access to financial services. And we know that blockchain is a solution that helps unlock that first step. But how can we tell if all of our work is moving the needle or not? Now there's new research that helps quantify its impact. We engaged PwC US to develop a white paper and framework that offers important insights into how to measure the impact of digital financial services on increasing financial access and inclusion. Additionally, it digs into some of the blockchain-based solutions making a difference today, with data points to prove it. If you're interested in reading it, head over to PwC US's site to download it. And as for what the policy team's been up to, I spent a few weeks in Europe engaged in conversations about the transformative role digital assets will play in the future of monetary policy, economic statecraft, and unlocking human potential. At the Atlantic Council's Transatlantic Forum on Geoeconomics in Berlin, I had the opportunity to share how blockchain is powering fast payments with increased traceability, transparency, and accountability, a game changer for aid and future reconstruction support, particularly in Ukraine. I also participated in EuroFi, Europe's premier gathering of economic and financial policy experts. I capped off my time in Europe by speaking with the IOSCO Deputy Secretary General Tajinder Singh, that was at Meridian, where we spoke about global regulatory trends for blockchain. He shared his views on how oversight organizations are navigating the opportunities and challenges posed by innovative technology. The team has also been extensively meeting with the US and international policymakers to discuss policy priorities and submitting responses on regulatory approaches to DeFi and offline payment solutions. And finally, SDF was appointed to CFTC's Global Market Advisory Committee, or GMAC. SDF's inclusion in the committee marks another important moment for blockchain, as it further acknowledges the connection between the future of US markets and the blockchain crypto industry. That rounds out the final building block, Lauren, so back to you for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Candace and Denelle and Jason, for all of those incredible updates. So now it is time for us to take your questions. We've had some come in throughout the call, so I'll get to those. But if you have any, now is the time to drop them in the Q&A box. So let me get started. I think the first one I had here was kind of this was a big one to answer, and it's going to go to Denelle first, which is, what are the biggest challenges and opportunities that you see for Stellar, or that you think Stellar faces in 2023 and beyond? And we'll start with Denelle, but Candace, Jason, feel free to weigh in if you guys have different opinions.
So I'm going to start with the opportunities because I like to start on the positive side. I think that Soroban for Stellar just brings a tremendous amount of opportunity. Already seeing just the influx of new developers to the network and the way that developers can engage very differently in the network now has just been so wonderful and vibrant to see the network very active. And our Discord channels are exceedingly active. And the way that that Soroban has been built, really from very much in the public and very much with the developers, has just been a really nice way to see that this is kind of how you want this to be, right? You want everybody to come and to create opportunities for themselves by contributing to the code base and by making Soroban even better. So huge opportunities there. I also think the fact that there's so much focus, and a lot of it has been driven by us, on utility in blockchain generally, it just demonstrates so much opportunity for Stellar, because that's where Stellar has been. It's the table stakes for the network and has been the focal point for always for Stellar. And so we're delivering so much of that as an ecosystem. And that's really what a lot of players out there point to, is the work that they're doing with the different participants of Stellar that are already and leveraging those on and off ramps, for example. So many opportunities and so much fun. Challenges, it's not rocket science to know that part of our challenge is, of course, the regulatory environment. I see a lot of really great pieces of legislation in other parts of the world. Unfortunately, we haven't seen as much as we'd like to in the United States, but there's been sort of this warmness from a lot of other jurisdictions. And but the challenge is, of course, what's going to happen here in the US. We really want to see the US take a leadership role. And I think that that is going to be a bit of headwinds, although I'm still really looking forward to this quarter, hoping that we're going to see some changes with respect to the US's engagement, which I think then will make it a lot easier on a global basis to be able to see this. So other than that, I feel pretty great about the opportunities versus the challenges.
Well, on that, and we had another question here. So, and I think this picks up on what you're just saying in terms of challenges, Candace. Over to you about the prospect for stablecoin legislation in the US, given sort of the state of the world and all that's going on.
Yeah, I think anyone who pretends to know what's going to happen in Congress in the United States is selling you, a story, because it's so unpredictable. But we do have a speaker. We do have some major global challenges going on that the U.S. needs to be a leader in and needs to take as a priority. Having said all of that, I do think we are very engaged in the U.S. In the conversations. And so I do think, like Denelle, I have some optimism that certainly there's plenty of attention, that the level of understanding has gone up so dramatically in recent years. I would say certainly even in recent months, it's an ongoing learning curve. And so there's hope, but certainly I don't want to be on record for making any promises when it comes to the negotiations there. But I do think that there is definitely some progress, particularly on stablecoin legislation. And we will continue to be very engaged in that conversation and do whatever we can to move forward.
Thank you for that. Okay, maybe a more fun question, Denelle. Do you have future plans to continue a relationship with the one and only Idris Elba?
How fun was that to have him to be part of our Meridian this year and really a part of our brand story? It was it's so great to have someone whose own personal views and his very public perception and what he does in the world really resonates deeply with the mission. So yeah, we definitely are, there's a lot of things that we could solve together, and we are working towards trying to put together some solutions, obviously focused mostly on Africa. and West Africa in particular. So it's a fun team to work with, and we're just really proud of the way that not only our story was told by Idris, but also just the way the teams collaborate together. So we're looking forward to just doing more together.
Thank you for that. And maybe that transitions us nicely to our next question, which is someone was curious, will 2024 be the year Meridian happens in the United States of America? And that is we are in, I'll go ahead and answer that one because I'm the lucky person who gets to help plan this event every year, as we're looking at locations right now. And there's a lot of things that go into how we pick where we're going to host Meridian. We obviously have a really global ecosystem, and so we try to choose locations that are easy for people to get to, but also for, that are where we can potentially get concentrations of our developers there, and also kind of that align to all the different stakeholders, whether that's a policymaker or an entrepreneur or a builder or a developer. So all that to say, I can't tell you exactly where 2024 is going to happen because we have not decided yet. But know that, we try to pick a location that really best reflects kind of everything happening in the ecosystem, and we'll hopefully be announcing something very soon. Denelle or Candace or anyone who maybe wants to add to that question.
Well, I really like the idea of it being outside the US just because it's reflective of the ecosystem, which is a lot outside the US and mostly outside the US. But part of that question that was on there was talking about the fact that really to make a statement in the US, if we had the conference in the US, would it make a statement that crypto is here to stay? And one of the things that Candace and her team do so well is they're constantly involved in the discussions on those who support crypto and those who don't support crypto, frankly, in the policy and regulatory discussions. And so we already do make that statement over and over and over, and we don't need to use Meridian to do that. We really want it to be that it's easy to get to and it can engage as many people as possible who care about the growth of this ecosystem. So that's kind of where our focal point is for each of them. Lauren and her team always come together with some really brilliant ideas of places to have it. So I'm looking forward to getting that. We usually start, in the next month or so to try to resolve where we're going to go. So it's really fun to be able to see that. So I doubt we'll see it in the US, but it's always a possibility.
That discussion's happening soon. Oh, go ahead, Candace.
I'll just chime in. And as I noted, my time in Europe, for example, I was at Meridian, but I was at a number of Eurofee. There were not a lot of crypto folks there. It was traditional finance. So I think our team focuses a lot on making sure that we're not speaking in the we bring policymakers to Meridian, but our work in making those statements and really trying to move the needle is trying to figure out where in other forums there needs to be a voice. And so again, just to echo what Denelle was saying, I think Meridian is really about convening the ecosystem and bringing in some policymakers. We certainly had some eyes opened with some of the folks who came and spent a little extra time at Meridian, not just their time on the stage or not just time meeting with some of us, but really seeing the dynamism of the way the Meridian conference brings together the ecosystem. So again, just reiterating what Denelle said about how sort of the focus of the policy work and influencing on that side versus the goal of Meridian.
Thank you, Candace. Thank you, Denelle. Okay, we've had a couple of questions coming in, and Jason, maybe this one you want to field. This is, we'd like to know the onboarding process to be part of the Stellar Network. So if someone's interested in getting started building or partnering, what should they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say the first thing is you can always go to SDF's website. So that's stellar.org. If you go to the main menu, there is a section called Start Building. So I always suggest that's a great place to go when you want to start building. That has all sorts of resources. It has our developer documentation. It has other technical resources, explainers, tutorials. It also has information about the foundation's various grant and other funding programs. It has a directory of current partners, all that good stuff. So obviously, as an open source network, anyone can start building right away whenever they want to, and stellar.org is a great place to start. And then if you do want to get in touch with someone here at SDF, you can also send an email to partnerships@stellar.org. if you have specific questions that you want to ask. So as Lauren said, did see a few questions on this. That's where to start, at the website or to email us.
Okay, thank you. Partnerships@stellar.org. Write that down right now. We can put it in the chat also. So we only have time for a couple more questions before we need to wrap up. And we had one that was about Circle's products on focus. So Denelle, I think this one maybe will come over to you, which is Circle has been increasingly launching new products with so much potential, but this person sees a bit of a disconnect between Circle's supported networks and Stellar in general. Is this due to a technical issue or more collaboration between you two is in the works right now?
Thank you. I'm a little bit, I don't know how to answer the question only because I don't see a disconnect at all. We spend tons of time with Circle and I don't see a disconnect in terms of them supporting other networks because they should. Right now, because the bridges between networks aren't as, people aren't as comfortable on bridges and not all of them exist, it makes it so that a centralized authority like Circle really tends to be that interoperability layer. We want to see a lot of interoperability between chains, and Circle provides that. So they're listed on, they're integrated with a bunch of chains, which is great for the ecosystem at large, the blockchain ecosystem. And the fact is like what Circle really cares about is the utility of their products. In fact, much of what they talk about and much of what their public focus is on is about the utility that they see with respect to their the USDC token, and a lot of that is with partners that are on Stellar and that the work that's happening on Stellar. So if you dig deeply into what they're doing, I just saw a post by one of their internal developers about the MoneyGram and the accessibility of MoneyGram in a Latin American country, and they actually went through and demonstrated like what they were able to do with a wallet that was on Stellar to be able to make that happen. So many of the participants that you see that they talk about are Stellar-based organizations or organizations that are integrated on Stellar. So I don't see a disconnect at all. In fact, we have tons of collaboration between them. We have our own internal Slack channels where Circle's a part of it. So I think it's a really great opportunity to demonstrate like we work very well with them and they work very well with other chains. And we'd like to see that kind of thing happen, especially because it really does create that interoperability layer in the networks.
Thanks for taking that one on, Denelle. I think this is probably our last question for today, given we're almost at time, but sort of related, which is how much of Stellar's Q4 focus is going to be based on global payments and settlements? And this question is in particular focused on the B2B market.
It's such a great question. I think that, we see a lot of attention is paid to the consumer side. The network itself is actually businesses building on the network, and those businesses can have both the consumer focus as well as the business focus. The B2B piece of it is super interesting because that's how a lot of the more significant dollars are moved. So in terms of Q4 and the focus on global payments, we have a tremendous amount of focus on global payments. The focus on whether it's B2B or B2C is really at the layer of the companies that are building on the network. And those companies that are taking advantage of the network. And we see a tremendous number of companies not just focused on global payments, but also on, and ARF, for example, it's focused on supplying like the ability to have a liquidity for these different companies out there. So it's a lending platform where they actually lend money out to companies to be able to allow them to do global payments and settlements from a business to business standpoint. So there's a lot of B2B work that goes on there. Most of it doesn't get highlighted as much because so much of it isn't as interesting from the consumer side of it. But we see a lot of attention there. So I think just the short answer to this is global payments, huge focus for us in Q4. B2B, we see a lot of that happening on the network. Not as much attention is paid to it by the press and by social media, but there's a lot going on there, which frankly is what drives the value of the network. So like to see even more of that next year. And we're definitely focused on both of them this quarter.
Thank you. And, there's been a few questions, people asking where are we going to show up in Q4, where we're going to be. You can always find out what we're doing by going to our website, stellar.org/events, or following us on Twitter @stellar.org, or I guess it's called X now. I'll get used to doing that. But Denelle, someone asked a very specific question, which is, do you have any plans in Q4 to travel to Australia or Switzerland? And I just wanted to give you as a final wrapping note to answer to your travel plans for the rest of the year.
Oh my goodness, no, I would love to. I love both of those locations. We are doing, I have far too much travel already in Q4. I'd love to be able to say that we'll do some of that next year. We plan to be more, very, very aggressive and specific about where we're going to land next year. We're going to be doing some work in Africa, and potentially also then, and other, regions in that area. But no, not Australia or Switzerland right now. I think Switzerland, though, we're going in January, right?
Yes, we will be in the Zurich area in January. So,
and then I did see another question in here where someone mentioned that when I went into Discord, they had a fond memory of me being in Discord and getting with the community. I think I've done it like 3 or 4 times. I love it. And so it actually is something for me to put onto my calendar for this year, that I have to go and spend more time in Discord. And we'll make it so that there's a set time that I go there, so you can ask me any questions, and I love responding to them very quickly in there. It's really fun to do. So yes, we'll do that this quarter.
awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. That's all the time we have today. We'll have the webinar recording and the report posted on stellar.org on the quarterly report landing page. And we'll also have a recap blog post up before the end of the day. So, and the best thing to do so you don't miss anything is to follow us at stellar.org on X. We'll see you again next quarter. Thank you, Denelle. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Candace. Bye, everybody.